Careblazer, a new year is upon us, a time when most people usually reflect on the past 12 months. And in doing that, they usually find some things they would like to change and start to develop some hopes and goals for the upcoming year. For a lot of people, this is when they start to focus on their health. I think we can all agree that what we put in our body and what we do with our body is very important for our overall health. And in the coming weeks, you can be sure you will see a ton of information and news articles on the next best exercise routine or diet to help you reach your health goals. But there is one thing the headlines will not be talking about, and I think it's the most important diet, especially for dementia caregivers. So that's what I want to share with you today. And at the end of this episode, I'm going to share with you an assignment that I hope, if you are somebody who really wants to live the healthiest life possible, I hope you'll take this assignment seriously and do it. So while everybody is focused on what they're going to put in their bodies and do with their bodies, I want you to focus on what you are putting in your mind. This is literally what I am calling the thought diet. What you think, what you focus on, what you repeat to yourself over and over in your mind, that is just as important as what you do with your body and what you decide to eat. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I want you to think about what comes to your mind immediately. What have you been thinking about yourself over the past year? What have you been thinking most of the time about your loved one with dementia over the past year? When you think about your future, what is it that comes to mind? If the answer to those questions sounds something like, I'm not good enough, I'm not doing enough, I'm failing my loved one, or my loved one is so frustrating, they're just getting worse, they don't appreciate anything that I do, I can't do anything until caregiving is over, there's no purpose in trying to do anything that I want to do because caregiving takes up most of my time. Do those things sound familiar? How do you think a person who has predominant thoughts that sound like that, how do you think they feel during their day? Not very good. I get thousands of emails, DMs, messages from caregivers all around the world, and many of them are experiencing thoughts just like I mentioned above. Anyone would feel bad if those were their primary thoughts. Anyone would feel bad if that is what was occupying their mind most of the time. So I want you to think about your thought diet. What kind of thought diet do you want to be on in 2023? Even if what you are thinking is true, like let's say your loved one is extremely critical. Even if what you are thinking is true, it doesn't mean it's helpful for you to continue to focus on it and continue to think about it. For example, I happen to think chocolate chip cookies, wine, and French fries are the most amazing things ever to eat. And if I were to continue to think about that and keep that on top of mind, I would probably eat a lot more chocolate chip cookies and French fries. Do I consume those things from time to time? Of course, absolutely. I'm human, but I don't make those the predominant parts of my diet. So you will continue to have thoughts like you've been having for most of this past year. But it doesn't mean that you have to make those your predominant thoughts. You can make a change. So what are you going to intentionally put in your mind instead? What do you want to think instead? And why would you purposefully choose to continue thinking some of those similar thoughts you've been having that makes you feel awful? You know that when you think you're not good enough, you're not doing a good job, or your loved one is a pain, it's not going to feel good to you. It hurts you, and it does nothing to change your loved one or to improve your situation at all. So now you have to decide, what do you want to start thinking in order to feel better? What do you want to be putting in your mind on purpose? What do you want your thought diet to be, your predominant thoughts that you have in your mind? And make sure that whatever that is, it's actually true. It's actually believable. The thoughts you are going to want to choose to think on purpose, those can be and should be just as believable as the thoughts you are predominantly thinking right now that make you feel awful. So right now, what's one thought that does not serve you, that just makes you feel awful? Leave it in a comment below. Now, you have that one thought that doesn't serve you, that you've been thinking a lot. What could you think instead of that thought? What could you think in place of that thought? This is like switching out the French fries for maybe a salad. For example, if you think caregiving is hard, which I think most of us would agree, but you realize that every time you think that thought, you find yourself feeling worse and worse and worse, the question becomes, what could you be thinking instead? Perhaps you want to think, I can do hard things. I have been doing hard things. Or even sometimes I'm pretty good at doing hard things. Does that make you feel better? It's still true, but notice the difference. Or how about the thought, I'm failing at caregiving? Instead, you could simply think, I'm caregiving. I'm showing up. I'm doing the best I can. Some days are better than others. Some days I'm better than others. Again, notice the difference. So, for the comment on what you have been thinking that is not serving you, what is your new purposeful thought you want to think instead? Leave that below in the comments. That is literally what you are going to practice starting to put into your mind. It's literally one of the thoughts in your thought diet. Most people in the world, they go about thinking that thoughts are just things that happen, that these sentences just pop into their mind and they have no control over them. I'm here to tell you that you have so much control over what you choose to think on, what you choose to focus on, what you choose to believe. And most of us go about this life, go about caregiving, focusing and thinking and believing really awful thoughts that are just going to make your caregiving journey more difficult and keep you down. What you choose to put in your thought diet can drastically improve or worsen your life. So while the rest of the world starts focusing on their fitness goals and their health goals with what they're going to eat and what exercises they're going to do, I want you to really put in one of your top goals, this idea of what thoughts are you going to put into your mind? What are you going to choose to think on purpose? I do hope you'll put yourself on a thought diet and be mindful of what you are thinking most of the time. Your old thoughts will be there. Those negative thoughts that don't serve you, they're going to happen. That's normal. You're human. That's okay. But with time and practice, these new thoughts you want to believe will start to become more natural. They will then, at one point, become your new diet, your new predominant thoughts. If you're serious about feeling better in 2023, I really hope this is something you will consider doing. So this is my assignment for those of you who are serious about wanting to make 2023 kinder to yourself and in the end, make your caregiving journey easier. I want you to take out a piece of paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to make 2 columns, one with your old predominant thought that you know is not serving you, that you know does nothing to help you and nothing to help your loved one, nothing to help your caregiving journey. Even if that thought is true, you know it's not helpful. And then in the next column, you're just going to write new. You're going to write your new thought that you are going to practice thinking instead. Notice I said practice. It's not going to come easy. It's not going to come as easy as these old thoughts because these old thoughts you have been thinking for a long time. So it's going to take some practice. It's going to feel like some effort, but it is work worth doing. So you're going to get your piece of paper. You're going to make your 2 columns. You're going to set your timer for 5 minutes. You can take your phone, turn it on a 5-minute timer. And what you are going to do is you are going to write down the thoughts that you think a lot, that you know don't help you. And for each one, you are going to come up with a new thought that is just as true. We're not making things up. That's just as true, and you're going to write it next to it. So for example, I have I'm failing as an old predominant thought. I'm a failure, I'm failing. And the new thought would be, well, I'm learning, right? Or I'm trying. That's just as believable. That's just as true for me. And then once you're done with that exercise, keep this list around, refer to it, practice it, keep these new thoughts top of mind. With some consistency, with regular practice, this could be your new way of thinking. And tell me, what is the downside to thinking these new thoughts? What is the downside to thinking I'm learning versus I'm failing? I can't see one. Don't let this be just another video. Let this be information that changes your whole life. I look forward to reading some of your comments below in this video. Careblazer, I believe in you. I look forward to this new thought diet journey you'll go on in 2023. You can start right now at the end of 2022. I'll be back next week with a new video. As always, I am sending you love. Thank you.